circles are something that have kind of achieved this kind of mythology in Cornerstone. It's kind of like consensus, where people go, what do you do in consensus and what do you do in a story circle? And really, to take all the mystery out of it, is story circles are facilitated conversations. Story circles come from people sitting around a campfire at the end of the day, sharing conversation about the day. So a lot of theater companies across the country are doing this kind of work. We just happen to accept the name Story Circle as the way we work, which is a facilitated conversation. Each playwright crafts their story circle in a different way. Some of them can be one-on-one conversations. So at Cornerstone, a story circle can be anywhere from one person to 20, 30 people. And many times, as we say, we will get ready to throw a party and a few people show up. And it doesn't really matter about the numbers, it just matters about the quality. So we put in as much to have a conversation with one individual as we do with 20 people. So some playwrights will have one-on-one conversations. Julie Marie Myatt for our playwright for Someday, which was our reproductive rights show that we just did as part of our Justice Cycle. She had a lot of one-on-one conversations because the subject matter was so private. It was about people sharing their journeys of fertility or infertility, or their choice to not have children. So it kind of lent itself to those kinds of intimate story circles. As opposed to with the show that we're doing right now, At Traction, which is our part of our Cornerstone Summer Residency, our Institute program, is our story circles where people coming together and having conversations. You can also do activities within the story circles. So it's not just sitting around having a facilitated conversation. It can be writing exercises. It can get people, getting them up on their feet, using some of the tools you might have heard of. Some of the exercises we use at Cornerstone is cultural mapping, which is really, it divides the room up into 4 corners, and we ask a series of questions and people self-identify. We can do writing exercises that start with exploring your community through the senses. So for example, when I think of the community of Institute 5, I see, and you list 5 things that you see: smell, taste, touch, etc. And so that's a great way to get into the poetry of community, to get into community members actually getting to speak in metaphor and to speak very sensorially about their community. So a commonly asked question is, so once you get this information from story circles, how do you use it? And I think one step that's really, really important, and it kind of precedes the actual story circle, you want to start the story circle off that way, is setting up expectations. So I can just talk from a Cornerstone perspective, and it's one of the things we talk about with our Institute students here is, this is how we do it. It is not the only way of doing it. It's just, if it's useful to use Cornerstone's work as a case study, take it, manipulate it any way you want to. Cornerstone is very clear from the get-go that we are a theater company and that we are here to create a play. We change names. We usually don't use words verbatim. There may be times where a playwright has one shot at interviewing somebody, having a story circle, and it could be someone, for example, a professor or a scientist who has very concrete, factual information that we want to get right. We might introduce recording, like a tape recorder, into the room, always asking permission, and always being aware of how the dynamic can shift when a tape recorder is introduced or a video camera is introduced. So we tend to shy away from that, but I'm not saying that we don't use it. We do use it. We do record story circles, but always with the participants' awareness. And at any point in time, if someone says, please turn off the tape recorder for this, we do. And if somebody afterwards reflects on the fact that they would rather not have their information out there, they can call us up and ask us to destroy the tape, and we do. Yeah, so it's you've got to be impeccable with your word. You know, if you say it, so you have to be very clear of what we're putting out there, and you also have to be prepared for someone to say, I'm not sure if I feel comfortable about that. There have not really been a case when someone has pulled their story out at the 11th hour, because what we do is we have community readings, and so that is a time for community members to give feedback. But ultimately, in the end, as I said before, it's the playwright who is cooking the soup and taking those stories and gathering that information. A lot of conversation, as we've said before, talk about story circles. Cornerstone is talking all the time, not just with our community, but with each other. So really, again, to kind of take the mythology out of Cornerstone story circles, it's whatever a playwright needs to investigate a community and to open up conversation in a very organic, safe, and pure way.